It's Mari McInerney here from Croakey, and we're still at the VicServe conference on Towards Recovery about mental health issues. And I'm talking here with Harvey, who's from Tasmania. And it's been a session about the transition from participant to peer worker, really. Your story is very compelling. Can you tell us your background both in the workforce and also your health story?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Mari. So for me, my career background is very varied. So I'm in my late 30s now, and I originally started as a chef. I then went on to train as a priest, and then I did a politics international relations degree. I did a stint of about 5 or 6 years working for a bank in Sydney. And then basically circumstances caused us to move down to Tasmania, and I did a 3-year stint at TasTAFE, learning to be a horticulturalist and qualifying in that. But when I look back on my personal life, I would say I'd had over 20 years experience with mental illness in terms of depression and anxiety. Always just thought I was a bit strange, a bit weird, but actually in 2011 had a really serious mental breakdown, almost lost my wife and children over the experience. But the hope that came out of that was that I really was exposed to this concept of recovery, and that no matter what you've been through, it's absolutely possible to pick up your life and have that full and meaningful life, the hopes and the dreams that you once held on to. And so for me, my recovery has been fairly long, and I'm still in recovery. I have the same challenges that anybody else has. I'm still reminded every day of my mental illness. I live it, but it's only part of me, it's not the whole of me. So that's a little bit about my recovery.
And so the interesting thing now with that recovery is it's led to a new direction in work for you. So can you explain where you are now? What is your job? What does it involve?
So I'm basically employed as an intentional peer support worker. And basically what I love about that title is two things. First of all, is that I actually get to give a bit of Harvey. And I think it's something that I've probably craved all of my life, which sounds very egotistical, but actually I think it's really rewarding to be able to give something of myself. The other part
Can I break into that and just say, you made the point in the session that it's called intentional. What does intentional mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So the intentional is basically based on the Sherry Mead framework for peer work, which is about that equal challenge that between yourself and the people that you work with. So it's not that Harvey is the expert of mental illness, that Harvey knows all about all the other mental illnesses. It's actually about more focused on the recovery, and it's about saying Harvey still struggles with getting up in the morning, and my person I might work with says, you know what, I really struggle to get up this morning, and so we work out strategies together. So that it's not about me helping, it's actually about us learning together, and about mapping out where our recovery goes to now, and those steps and those strategies, and learning equally off the other person in terms of actually improving our lives, and just those small incremental steps that it often takes. So the intentional part of what I do is really the very crux of my role and how I actually approach the way that I work.
And who do you work with then?
So I work for my fellowship, which is now becoming Wellways, and they are the only service that I've ever used in terms of my recovery and now in employment. And
how many? You work 3 days a week, but you work with other participants in their programs,
yes.
Yeah?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So the big thing here is that the peer workforce is starting to develop with some strength in Victoria,
yes.
But you said in Tasmania it's not close to that yet.
No.
How hard is it, and what are the challenges to be a peer worker? One, for yourself, and you talked a bit about self-care,
yes.
But two, about how you fit in a workplace and how that workplace responds to you. So what have you observed?
Look, I think one of the big challenges for Tasmania is that we are a regional place. You may have Launceston and Hobart, but you can't compare what happens in Sydney or in Melbourne to how you would work in Hobart or Launceston. We're really basically big towns, and I probably shouldn't say that as an outsider, but I think so. There are some challenges there. I think, as I mentioned in the presentation, I think that we do need to look at actually what's happening in the regions of the bigger cities, of the bigger states, in terms of actually probably sort of adopting some of those areas. I'm one of 4 paid mental health peer workers within this organisation of my fellowship, Waways. And there may be a couple of other positions around, but I'm not aware of them. And so really, I think, we really are on, at the moment at ground zero. But what's really exciting for me, and the way I look at that, is actually to say, we do have an organisation, Flourish, down in Tasmania, and they do an awesome job. And it's about integrating into them and actually building those relationships and that community together of peer-to-peer work. And actually learning off each other. And, we might have a long way to go, but I think it is about looking at what other people are doing and incorporating some of that, as well as, finding our own way.
They talked today of a couple of things. One, tokenism, and also the sense of isolation you have as a peer worker because there aren't so many, and that question of value, being valued. So what's that experience been like for you, and what are the lessons that you could give to organisations that really should have peer workers amongst their staff?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, so on the issue of tokenism, I really do think it is about time that organisations did actually understand that despite some peer workers have qualifications, some peer workers don't have qualifications, but the qualification is the lived experience, and so you can't lessen that down to just say, well, I'm not going to pay them for their time, for example. I think we bring a very unique skill and contribution to the community space. I think also there is a responsibility on the workers, on the peer support workers, to actually continue to educate the people that we work around in terms of what it actually is that we can bring to their participants, as the participants of the organisation. And so that sort of ties back into one of the other areas of the challenge.
It seems we're going to get kicked out in a minute for a Bollywood dance.
Yeah.
Can you say what was a magic moment? Has there been a magic moment at work, either in the way that the workforce has welcomed you, or in the work that you do? What have they been?
Absolutely. Look, the organisation and in the Launceston office, they have been absolutely incredible in welcoming these us peer workers. They really do value the effort and the contribution that we make, and that makes the transition so much easier. In any professional role, there is obviously a time of transition. I think the golden moment for me is actually really hitting the ground running. I really had no idea exactly what this role would entail for me. But I think for me it is about, I'm equally valued to actually shape this role and to shape the framework within my fellowship down in Tasmania and in Launceston particularly, of course, because each site has its own way of doing things, and that's a fantastic thing. It's not a one-size-fits-all. And that just, the great thing for me is just about inspiring and hope and in our participants, and believing that they can become what I have become and more.
Thank you very much. I think we're going to have to dance off.
That's okay.
Thank you, Harvey.